guys, welcome to another weekly mash. This week Paul went to visit Chorlton Brewery and they discussed and tasted sour beers.
Sour beers. Paul's really making his rounds.
He is.
Of all the breweries.
He is.
Good.
Now, have you tasted a sour beer before?
I have. I've had a few sour beers and it's an acquired taste. It's there's many different beer styles. I'm not going to say everyone likes a sour beer, but
definitely interesting.
I've had very strong sour beers, which for me sometimes it's a bit too quite intense. But you get some that are a bit more mild. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yes,
definitely. That's one thing you can say about it.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well,
let's go and see.
Let's see what Paul thinks.
Yeah.
Hi, we're here at the Chorlton Brew Company. I'm here with Mike and we're going to talk a little bit today about sour beers. It's something I'm quite new to, quite interested in, or something I've never tried when I've been home brewing, so I'm going to speak with Mike and hopefully learn a little bit more about them today. As a basic, could you give us a bit of an overview of what a sour beer is?
Yeah, so sour would be anything with a low pH technically, so basically acids. Acids taste sour. And when we talk about sour beers, we talk about beers with lactic acid in, and the lactic acid comes from usually from bacterial action. So there's basically two fermentations I do. First of all, a bacterial fermentation, which creates a lactic acid, and once it reaches the desired pH, then I'll go ahead and boil beer, and I'll get into this later, and then do a normal yeast fermentation. So it's essentially using bacteria to do my bidding.
Okay. So it's essentially the same brewing process as when you're brewing a normal beer, but with a separate...
with an extra fermentation. So two different fermentations, one with lactic acid bacteria and one with yeast.
And is that in the same vessel, or you're transferring it onto it?
No, what I normally do is I do my mash, I combine my runnings in the brew kettle.
Okay.
Then I chuck in some bugs. I keep it at 45 degrees centigrade. We've got a temperature controller in our kettle that allows us to do that. Okay. I make sure there's as little oxygen as possible in there because that way I'm selecting both by temperature and lack of oxygen. I'm selecting specifically for bacteria at once. Okay. And all I do is take a handful of grain, malt, marisol or whatever, chuck it on top of the kettle, and the bugs on the surface of the malt start doing the work.
Okay. And in terms of those bugs, like lactic acid, are those things that ordinarily you would try and keep out of a beer?
They are, but the kind of beautiful thing about the way we do it is they do belong in the brewery because they get shipped in with the malt, so they're kind of hitchhiking on the malt. So from an infection point of view, I mean, you can call sour beer infected, intentionally sour, but from an infection point of view, I'm not bringing anything that doesn't already belong in the brewery.
Okay, cool. And can you just get hold of and buy lactic acid?
You can. That's probably how I would recommend people make sour beers to start with. I think it's like this argument that Cameron would use about extraneous CO2 in the beer, that probably people would say, purists would say that you shouldn't make sour beers by pouring in lactic acid. Okay. I disagree. Okay. The lactic acid that you have to use food grade. You can buy on eBay. It would be made in probably exactly the same way as I'm souring a beer and then distilled. So it's essentially the same stuff. One thing I wouldn't do is try other kinds of acid, citric acid, vinegar, that kind of thing. I mean, sour beer tastes clean sour. If you taste a sour beer with vinegar in it, it's going to be kind of more like gone off beer rather than a sour beer. So we specifically use lactic acid.
Okay, and what sort of addition rates are you talking for the lactic acid?
Personally, I don't know because we use a pH meter and naturally sour our beer with bacteria.
Okay.
I think you would probably put a bit in, stir it around, probably wear gloves.
Yeah.
Probably quite corrosive stuff. Taste it.
Yeah.
Stir a bit more in.
Okay.
Probably how I do. I've not done it to be honest, but
yeah,
that's probably the method I would use.
Okay, cool.
The important thing is if you're going to make a sour beer, the lactic acid needs to be in the beer before the fermentation, before the yeast fermentation. And the reason why is because when you're fermenting beer with yeast, it doesn't only create alcohol, it also creates, as you know, kind of esters and phenolic compounds and all these hundreds of kind of flavour compounds. And the profile of these flavour compounds will be affected by the lactic acid. Okay. So instead of ending up with acetic esters, for instance, you will end up with lactic esters. So actually the fruitiness is a bit different in sour beer. And if you add lactic acid after the fermentation, you're not going to get that profile. Okay, cool. So all the process up until fermentation is just as a normal brew? So in more detail what I do is I combine my runnings in the kettle. Right. I do the souring fermentation with bacteria, which I take off the grain. Then I boil my beer. Now it's kind of the other kind of quite elegant part of the process where any bacteria that was there before the boil gets killed, so again that kind of avoids infection. In a commercial brewery you kind of have to be careful you don't get contamination, etc. It's not such a big deal for home brewing. Then I've got my sterile works, which I chill, and then I add my yeast. Cool. So it's kind of an extra step just before the boil. Cool. Yeah, now okay, now that makes sense. And in terms of the recipe, now of the sours I've had, there's not much sort of hop character to it, or it sort of plays a bit of a background to the sourness. You want to try one with a hop character? Yeah, I'd love to. This is probably our hoppiest sour we do. It was an experiment. The experiment was, how much hops can I put in a sour beer? And I think I have my answer. Thank you very much. Would you like? Thank you. So this is autumn sour. It's one of our sour beers. It's, as you can see, quite sour, quite bitter. Yeah. The bitterness is entirely from dry hopping. So we put minuscule amounts of hops in the boil. Okay. Now people will tell you that dry hopping doesn't give any bitterness. And that's kind of the received knowledge, right? Yeah. It's actually not true. Some hops, I don't know why. I assume it might have something to do with beta acids. Yeah. I don't know. But some hops give a very robust bitterness in in dry hopping, and some hops, like Amarillo, give very little bitterness. So we're kind of on a search to find out what hops give more. Amarillo is one we're going to stick with that really doesn't give a lot of bitterness at all. So this is kind of a bitter sour beer. Most of the sour beers we do, what we're looking to do is basically take out the bitterness that's usually in a beer in order to balance the malty sweetness and replace it with sour in its place. So you could say we make beers for people that don't like bitter flavours. Yeah. This is a slight exception. Yeah. I think it's pretty hoppy. What do you reckon? Yeah, I can definitely taste the hop character. And so was it Amarillo in this one? Ortana in this. Oh, okay, cool. Which is a hop they're going to stop growing as of this year. So if you want to know what Ortana tastes like, it's mega grapefruit. Yeah. And you can't get it anymore. Okay, good. So, Joe, once your beer has been bottled, will the flavour or character of the sourness develop in the bottle, or is it sort of, it will be as the sourness won't develop because the bacteria have been killed by the boil. Obviously, like any kind of bottle conditioned beer and dry hop beers, the hoppy character mellows out over time. The more complex ester flavours will develop because of the yeast in there. Yeah. But the sourness should stay clean. Okay. So would you recommend aging these or drinking them quite fresh? Both. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Like all beers. Yeah. All bottle conditioned beers, same thing. Buy two, drink one now and one in a few months' time. Yeah. Okay. Cool. No, that's a really fascinating insight into sour beers, and I feel like I've learned quite a lot there. So thank you very much for your time. Really great.
That was awesome. See, yeah. So interesting, eh?
Yeah, it's a really cool brewery.
Yeah, definitely. And the art of making a sour beer.
Yeah, I mean they're trying interesting things, which is really great. So
good.
Now, for those of you who haven't had a sour beer, I really, really recommend getting one. You can make one by all means, but because it's just such an interesting beer.
And it's like an experience, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So go to the shops and
Try
get yourself one, and then
make one as well.
Yeah, make them. So and have fun.
Definitely.
Cool. See you next time.
Bye.